Do you think that one of you might turn out to be like Justin Timberlake and break away from the group, Joe?
We always talk about solo projects, and I think for us, it would never be a solo project, it'd be a side project. There's no way we can just break up because, I live in the same house as them, so it's going to be pretty difficult.
You know, you have very young fans, and you yourselves are very young. The fans are going to grow up. You're going to grow up. Nobody is a teen idol forever. You're aware of that.
These gays, they're trying to murder me.
What do I think of her?
Yes?
I don't think of her.
Read about that in the New York fucking Post!
Welcome, everybody, to part 5 of the Jonas Brothers Chastity Crusade. We took last week off for myriad reasons, obviously, in solidarity with the Palestinian people, as well as because of just kind of illness sweeping over our team. We decided to take the week off and instead just focused our efforts to sharing resources on social media, as well as highlighting the words of Palestinian people, as well as Jewish people here in the States, as well as Palestinian people here in the States. And we also reshared our BDS episodes that we did with writer Alex V. Green, who is now actually the co-host with me of Beautiful Women Updates on our Patreon. So full circle moment there. But we just wanted to take this second really quickly at the top of the episode because we said so in the last Patreon episode that we recorded before our break. That was recorded before our last episode, that we unequivocally stand with the Palestinian people. And we urge everybody to, in this time, listen to the words of people coming out of Palestine, listen to their demands, listen to their pleas for help, and to lend your voice in any way you can. There are ongoing lists of resources, and we will share a few of those as well in the links to this episode. Likewise, if you need a very quick explainer that is now just a few years out of date, because we did record that BDS series in 2019 with Alex. If you would like to go back and listen to that for what at the time was a up-to-date explainer on the demands of the boycott, divest, and sanctions movement that is led by the Palestinian people, it is the demands of Palestinians. We highly urge you to go back and listen to that, as well as just share the resources that you can find. We have been posting on our main channel as well as on our independent social medias, mine as well. You can find links to a bunch of different things. And just like, again, Eating for Free unequivocally stands with the asks, demands, and the people of Palestine. We are not going to play moral relativism with the various Western ideologies being imposed on the actions of the Palestinian people in acts of resistance against a colonial genocide at the hands of Israel. We are not going to cave to the demands of big corporations, as well as peers in the podcasting industry, publishing, what have you, what like in the media industries at large, to cave and offer lukewarm sentiments, as well as, letters of support for Israel. We will never be that podcast.
Absolutely
we will not listen to those demands. We will not offer any kind of room or platform on our podcast for those demands. And we just want to make that very clear, because in a time like this, when for many of us, you can sometimes feel like your immediate actions, your immediate life might feel very small, or your voice might feel very small. We can still speak together as one. And this is one of those times when we are doing so and have very deliberately chosen to do so. And, we've never been a podcast that was trying to get Sabra hummus deals anyways. So, if
you would think everyone is trying to do that now, wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, with the colossal stupidity that runs rampant in the podcasting industry, I hope that you do know that there are so many others like us that stand in solidarity with Palestine and will continue to do so. And in this moment where I think there is very material threats to people's livelihoods over standing with Palestine, I have certainly come up against them. As a podcast, we have absolutely come up against them in recent weeks. Now is not the time to delete your tweets in solidarity, in protest. These are not the time to cave to the demands of Zionists. These are not the time to, buckle under the pressure, right? Because we cannot allow them a platform in our spaces to spread Zionist propaganda and colonial messages in support of genocide. We just cannot do that. So,
it's been really sad to see how many celebrities and organizations so quickly cave to the propaganda. And I really hope that people here, can do their research and do their due diligence and, see what we see.
I wanted to do this at the top rather than at the end because, we are going to get into the Jonas Brothers now. But I think that this podcast, and if you go back and you listen to our BDS series, you can find that, a lot of times queer people love to play the game of oh, well, we are already subjected everywhere. We are already terrorized everywhere, right? Especially drag queens that go and perform in Israel. This is a very, very clear problem in the queer community, and in just spaces that are not, a liberal academic institution or the grocery store aisle. There are things that as gay people, as women, as queer people, we can do in our own communities to support the efforts of BDS, to support the cultural boycott, divestment, and sanction from Israel. And again, here at home, there are things that we can do to ensure as little money of ours as we humanly can do goes to funding an active genocide. So once again, I just really wanted to start the top of the episode with that. Matt and I are in agreement here. I just thought, obviously, it's better if one of us speaks at a time in this way.
I appreciate it. No, very well said.
So obviously, you can say something here now, too, if you would like.
Yes. No, I'm happy you said it. Happy to get off at the top of the episode. Last week was not a good week for us to do that. And with how much was going on, it didn't feel right to get right into it either. But we'll have those resources in our descriptions. A lot of people have been listening back to that episode, albeit a little outdated now. It's been a few years. We've gotten some good support in that. They learned a lot and people are learning from that. And I'm really happy we can help do that. And I think I encourage everyone, truly, I know people posting Instagram stories about this stuff sometimes seems trivial, but it really does help. And it's how a lot of us learn nowadays. And you can't trust what you're watching on the news. That's for fucking sure. So keep sharing those resources. And
join the Resistance News Network Telegram, and I'll stop there.
Exactly.
I don't want to blow anyone's spot up.
Yes.
And also, just really quickly, I think one of the things that I love about our podcast, and I think that we have tried really hard to accomplish here at Eating for Free, is that, we have, I say things out of date because historically speaking, we did not account for things that would happen in the future because they hadn't happened yet. But so many of our episodes that people have gone back to and said oh my God, this is still so relevant, or I still learned so much on things that we recorded 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I think that when you try and maintain what I would think at times we have attempted to be principled and a principled stance on things, it doesn't, I don't want to say it transcends history or time, but my beliefs and our principles here at Eating for Free do not change with the political winds. We really do try, and just even from doing an episode about BDS to doing an episode about the Jonas Brothers or Ariana fucking Grande or Justin Bieber, even you can go back and you can listen to our Gucci episode or our Balenciaga episode. It's we try to use the things that we do actually genuinely believe in our real lives and hold to be true in our real lives and apply them to the way we see the world outside of, my fucking bedroom or our apartment or our friend group, So thank you to everyone who has offered words of support or gone back and shared those episodes or told us how they have sounded 3 years, 4 years later. I've been a little scared to go back and listen just because I was well,
we were both in a place at that time
I think
too.
after an episode is a year old, I will never listen to it again. I will never go back and think of it ever again because it's hearing yourself.
Right.
I mean, who I was in 2019 was such a different
It's mostly
person.
that,
I don't know if I want to confront that person.
It's like we may not even, this applies to any episode, we may not say anything that would like date us in that way sometimes, but we know what we were going through at the time. So personally, sometimes it's just hard to listen back during that time.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to listen
I'm very
back.
happy that we had Alex, and we still have Alex to talk about this stuff and all the resources.
I mean, obviously Alex is
it.
like an enduring legend and staple of the Eating for Free podcasting universe. We actually are back also, just a quick scheduling thing. We are back also on Beautiful Women Updates. We stopped posting for the same reason. And we do also, Alex and I talk a little bit also about what's going on right now. So if you want to listen to Alex's perspective on that, you can go obviously sign up at our Patreon $5 tier, or you can go support Alex and get it on Alex's Patreon as well.
Yeah.
Alex and Eating for Free cross post those episodes. So if you're a fan of Alex's, if you're a fan of ours, whichever you would prefer to support, obviously, we just appreciate it. So let's get into the Jonas Brothers. Ooh. I have one thing I want to say here at Eating for Free, the podcast recording live from the absolute edge of the internet. Hello, my name is Joan Summers. Who are you?
Oh, I'm Matthew Lawson. I was like wondering what you were going to say as your title this time.
Well, Jonas Brothers, beleaguered Jonas Brothers historian, Joan Summers. So quick thing, since we are behind a week in our schedule, I have slightly combined parts 5 and 6. They are still going to end up probably being roughly the same of what we did and what I had planned originally, but I'm going to try to get through as much as I can while maintaining the thread of continuity and like kind of analysis that we're going for in this episode. But this will probably be a little bit longer. And next week will probably either be a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, just depending on how much I can possibly get through. I'm going to have to rewrite whichever we don't get to anyways, because I do like telling a good story. I'm not just going to blow through it. But I just wanted to say, because we did miss a week, it's going to be interesting.
55 sources for this episode.
Yeah, this episode has 55 sources. 55.
From just,
I cut that down.
Just from 2008, end of 2008 to the end of 2010, like 2 years.
Yeah. I cut it down from 70, so let's be proud of me. Let's be proud of me.
Oh, also,
can we be proud of me?
I am very proud of you. Also, I was just in Philly for a few days to see Joan.
Yeah.
Was finally in her neck of the woods. Had a great time. Thank you again for your hospitality and taking me around the town.
You're welcome. I think I showed you a good time.
It was a very good time. I feel like I really saw the city. We also did a bonus episode in person, literally on the couch, sitting in front of the couch of a kind of cursed Airbnb.
From the worst angle I've ever recorded anything ever.
You
but
always
we really
say
didn't.
that. You were serving. I think you were serving.
No. It's just more like it
was a weird
downward. It's like an upward angle sitting
We're on the floor,
ground.
MacBook on like a box of a Yahtzee like box.
It was tough. It was a tough angle.
But yeah, bonus episodes on there, and we are going to record our Camp Rock episode. We both had watched it, but again, sickness, world events, travel, a lot got in the way, so that will be coming too, either later in this week or next week on Patreon. So
it'll probably be later this week. Yeah, we're gonna try to make it later this week. So let's get into it. So last time we stopped, Matt, where do you remember we left off last week?
I mean, it was all about the purity ring, like kind of scandal, and them being really fed up and tired with it, and everyone basically kind of torturing them on their stance on it, and they didn't really care. They were like, why are we doing this? This is just a personal choice.
And as you saw in that episode, one thing that I was really fixated on, and I'm going to make this point very quickly because I don't want to wax too long on it. You're going to see it in the rest of this episode. But like, one thing that's interesting about going back and doing these child star hell retrospectives and analyses is like, we are learning so much about the way that our memory of things is influenced by the emotions that people felt, and how the emotions become almost part of the historical record, even when they contradict facts. And when you think about the Jonas Brothers, the number one thing that people will remember of that time, especially if they're being derisive or condescending, which there are plenty of reasons to be, is the purity rings. They harp on the purity rings as if these brothers were out here shoving the purity rings in our faces and forcing us to buy branded purity rings. And it was the only thing they ever talked about. It was as if like they opened their mouth and all they could say was purity ring, purity ring, purity ring, purity ring, purity ring, purity. And that just simply was not true. It's very clear. They were very uncomfortable with the purity rings. I think Kevin was really the only one that was willing to open up and talk about it. And it was also because he was the only one that was an actual legal adult during the time that they wore the purity rings. He takes his off really quickly. They all take theirs off really quickly. And almost immediately, especially post Obama's election, the purity rings basically get phased out entirely. They are
from
still
Bush's America to
over.
Obama's America.
Yeah, no, like they loom over the Jonas Brothers in the sense of like they are the brothers that wore the purity rings together, which is just an odd thing to like have a brotherly chastity agreement, I think was like a lot of what people were fixated on. But they were not parts of their brand for like really more than a year and a half. Like
at the most.
Things that people focused on. Almost immediately they disappear. And it's especially, I think, after Joe turns 18, it just is not going to work for their brand. The culture is simply changing. And they have competitors coming onto the scene that are pushing as we said with Justin Bieber, like sexualized preteen image that is contradicting the way that they are positioned as like the moral characters of the United States. So 2008, we talk about how Joe Jonas and Taylor Swift call it quits. And really, I think the Taylor Swift breakup is like one of the turning points in their like chaste image, because after Joe Jonas famously dumps Taylor Swift into a 27-second phone call, you can't really go back to him as like the sweet guy who like wears a chastity ring and is waiting till marriage and is like a goofball who wants to be an actor and is like a heartthrob. Like Taylor Swift at that point already had such a chokehold on the consciousness of like prepubescent girls that like Joe's image was irreparably turned into that of a bad boy. I think the chastity thing just really didn't mesh with him anymore. So Taylor Swift talks in an Ellen DeGeneres interview on November 11th, 2008 about how Joe broke up with her on the phone. Ellen says, he broke up with you on the phone. That's not right. And Taylor says, quote, "It's all right. I'm cool. You know what? It's like when I find out that person that is right for me, he'll be wonderful. When I look at that person, I'm not even going to remember the boy I broke up with over the phone in 27 seconds when I was 18. And it's like, oh my God, I'm just thinking of like Travis Kelce right now. Like I just am like,
it's crazy.
From Joe Jonas to Travis Kelce is like, woo. So
it's also crazy because Taylor was 19 at the time. So it's hard to even remember.
She was 18 and Joe was 19.
Oh, okay. I see.
No, Taylor was 18 when this happened.
Okay.
And she says, so, you know, she goes, the split was like a record, I think, for how quick. I looked at the call log. It was 27 seconds. That's got to be a record. Ellen then asked Taylor if, you know, she would date either of the Jonas Brothers. And she says, oh my God, probably not. And then on her MySpace page later says that she had read rumors that she was pregnant with Joe's kid. God. And that was the cause of the breakup. And she says, quote, "I read very creative rumor this morning saying I'm pregnant, which is the most impossible thing on the planet. Take my word for it. It's impossible."
She was like, the ring was on.
Yeah. In his own MySpace page, which again, 2008, we were using MySpace. Several things. This is Joe in response to what Taylor says on Ellen and then writes on MySpace. "Several things I will stay with all my heart," says Jonas, who's now quietly dating actress Camille Bell. Quote, "I never cheated on a girlfriend. It might make someone feel better to assume or imply I have been unfaithful, but it is simply not true. Maybe there were reasons for a breakup. Maybe the heart moved on. Perhaps feelings changed. I am truly saddened that anything would potentially cause you to think less of me." He says, quote, "For those of you who have expressed concern over the 27-second phone call, I called to discuss feelings with the other person. Those feelings were obviously not well received. I did not end the conversation. Someone else did. Phone calls can only last as long as the person on the other end of the line is willing to talk." And then he doesn't go into specific reasons for the split. Anytime you are in a relationship, he says, quote, "For any length of time, there are going to be issues. Sometimes they resolve. Other times they lead to a change of heart. This was the case recently. I wish the best for the other person, but could not sit back any longer and leave our fans with a wrong impression of the truth. Hope this helps enlighten a little."
LOL.
I'm just checking dates really quick about this. Okay, so this is interesting. So speaking of Taylor, just to like situate ourselves in time and place. So this was in November 2008. And do you know what hadn't happened yet in her career?
It was right before, the Kanye thing, right? Because that was 2009.
It was right before the 2009 VMAs.
Because I remember that date very specifically.
Yeah. Which would have been almost a full year from now. But it's just interesting to be like, oh my God, like
pre-Kanye Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, this is pre-Kanye Taylor. I just find that interesting.
Well, that's why it's hard for me to even see her as like an 18, 19-year-old at that time. Like, it's genuinely like, I forget.
Well, it's just
that's because she had released a lot of music still at that point.
Yeah, and I think we forget that like fucking Taylor Swift has been around this long, like that she has been kind of permeated the culture for like quite a long time.
Like basically 2 decades.
It's like 15 years almost. So that same month, the Jonas Brothers are just like pounded by relationship scandal. And I really want to point out also, you know how we always joke that like iOS press releases are like a product of like the 2010s, like specifically the mid 2010s. I just find it funny going back and reading these like MySpace blasts throughout this Jonas Brothers
kind of
series because it like
iOS press release.
It goes to show that like the celebrities have always been communicating with us in like extremely long form, like stream of conscious poetry, like on social media platforms. Like the iOS press release is novel in that it's like a screenshot of a notes app, but like before they were doing iOS press releases, they were doing like MySpace bulletins, you know, like
I love it.
And maybe not like, I don't know, Angelina Jolie, but like even big stars were posting on Facebook, like updates on Facebook. Remember when it'd be like so-and-so shared like news of this on Facebook? Like, remember that?
Almost, barely. It's so long ago at this point.
So they just get like pounded by relationship news at the end of 2008. Remember, Miley had broken up with Nick Jonas earlier.
Yeah, when they were
year.
both like 15.
Yeah. And we
14,
talked
I think,
at
actually.
length in the most recent episode we did about how odd it is to like be this fixated on the love lives of 15-year-olds. So I'm going to just like one up you and say that we're going to introduce a 20-year-old into the mix.
No.
When Miley's still 15, by the way. The 15-year-old pop star, this is from Just Jared. Miley Cyrus still hates Nick Jonas, ? This is November 3rd, 2008. The 15-year-old pop star just returned from her European promo tour for sophomore CD Breakout yesterday. While in Paris, Miley performed 7 things and added to the end of the song, I Still Hate You. The song is rumored to be about ex-boyfriend Nick Jonas. Justin, her new man, 20, dressed up as Nick Jonas for Halloween this past Friday also. Do you think Miley is still hating on Nick Jonas? Okay, 1, Justin, 20, you're going to prison. We're going to find you and we're putting you in
she's 15.
jail.
What is going on? Ew.
No.
Ew.
Justin, okay, 15-year-old pop star with her 20-year-old boyfriend. Listen, before people come for us for doing age gap discourse, it's different when you're a pop star and it's like it's like weirder and worse.
As always,
because
it's just who wants to hang out with a 15-year-old unless you're also 15? Like, it's just what it is. When you're 20, all you do once you turn 18 is go like, I'm not hanging out with kids anymore.
Oh my God, not one of his like
weird.
first recommended photos being like with his like blonde wife in front of their fireplace with the children.
Yeah, who is this Justin? Just like some guy?
He's an American singer, songwriter, model, and actor. Okay, well, so he's a nothing. Who was a contestant on Nashville Star on season 6. He finished 10th out of 12 and then portrayed the role of Ben Rogers on Days of Our Lives for less than 4 months in 2014. Okay, that is an insane Wikipedia bio.
I was going to say,
you came 10th in a Nashville singing competition out of 12 people and then played a side character on Days of Our Lives for 4 months in 2014.
How did they even... This is giving PR. Who's giving arranged
there's
relationship.
Something. I mean, probably the Nashville part of it is like how it happened.
I'm sure there's friends
He's
of
also,
Billy Ray or something. The family.
He was one episode background player on Glee in the pilot as one of the football players. He was in 18 episodes of If I Can Dream, which is a web series. He was on one episode of The Client List. He had a recurring role, Days of Our Lives, like I said, in 2014. Then he was on 3 episodes of a show, The Haves and the Have-Nots. then he had
This is very Who.
like a 1 week
this?
appearance on The Young and the Restless, and then a appearance as Aiden in the TV movie Santa Boot Camp.
Well,
he was also in the Lifetime original movie, The Unauthorized Full House Story, playing the role of John Stamos.
oh, that sounds
No,
kind
I
of
mean,
like a
Matt,
big
the
deal.
Unauthorized Full House Story.
It was Lifetime, you said?
It was a Lifetime movie.
Yeah,
The Unauthorized Full House
This is
Story.
pretty rough. This is pretty rough.
He married an actress, Melissa Ordway.
I'm sure they're having a
in
great time
2012. So like a few years after this, he marries some lady who has also like, well, okay, wait, she was in 80 episodes of Hollywood Heights, and then
These are
32
probably the
episodes of
happiest
The Price
people in
is Right as a model. So
These
you
are probably
know.
the happiest people in Hollywood, let's be honest.
Yeah, this is part of this is the 99% that the SAG-AFTRA organizers are talking about when they say that 99% of SAG-AFTRA makes under $23,000 a year. This is who they're talking about.
Right.
So anyways, jumping forward to 2009, the Jonas Brothers on the 19th play at the inaugural kids concert for the Obamas, because remember, the Obamas would be getting famously inaugurated, or President Obama would get inaugurated on the 20th, so the next day. So this was like the pre-concert for kids. It was supposed to be like part of this like political project by Obama to like youth up the White House.
course,
it was like part of the whole like atmosphere of change he was pushing, where it was like, look, we're doing things differently, right? We're gonna get like young hip people in the White House to like do a concert, and like, you know, just it was this whole, if you were
I
there,
remember.
you remember.
Yeah, I distinctly remember.
So the first kids, I think they're called the first kids, right? Like if you're the kid of the president, you're one of the first kids.
Yeah.
Is that what is that how?
Did they call them like the first
children?
Yeah, the first daughter, the first,
Yeah. So the first daughters, Malia and Sasha, which is like, if you go back and you see like 10 and 7-year-old Malia and Sasha, it like really takes me back to a
I
time
forgot
in
that
my
they were
life.
like that young.
No, I know. It's I mean, 2009 was so long ago. I will never forget watching that inauguration, because that was our 8th grade. We were in 8th grade.
Yeah,
when that
I remember
happened.
watching it in class. Yeah.
And I'll never forget watching it in the middle school gym on a projector. And one of
very
our
that
teachers
vibes.
was standing by the outlet that was plugging the projector into the wall, because she was afraid there was going to be an assassination attempt. So she was like, we're going to stand next to the projector cable. Guys, remember, I went to Christian school. We've talked about this. And I just remember looking like, this is so odd. It was like just an odd experience. But anyways, Justin Bieber, the Jonas Brothers performed at this inaugural kids concert the day before.
I mean, JB.
And yeah, it was in honor of the parents of 4,000 children of military service members. And they said that, you know, it was like a highly watched concert. And I also think that like people like Miley Cyrus and stuff performed. We don't have much to say, but we are bringing Obama into this episode because I think it's important to note that like one thing I'm learning about the Jonas Brothers, and really just like the way Disney stars operate in the cultural imagination, is like one thing we said last week was the way that they're used by the Bushes to kind of push this like chaste image of America. When you are a product, and I say product very deliberately here, like the Jonas Brothers, your political, I'm saying like political usefulness can change extremely easily, right? Whereas like not even the year before, they were used by the Republican Party as part of this like campaign of like, you know, like making George W. Bush and the Republicans and their crusade of morality and war look hip and fun. Now they can be used by the Obamas to signal youth as well and like reach a demo that the White House normally doesn't reach. And it is interesting at the same time when you position that next to the fact that their purity rings largely disappeared from kind of the narrative around them in 2009, right? Like,
yeah, well, because you have the Christianity of Bush,
guard,
and then you have Obama who's a bit more like, you know, anyone can do what they want. Like, we just want kids who are good citizens. Like, model.
It's like as if like they were carrying around the Republican flag of like the, you know, I think it's a donkey, right? Isn't it a donkey? Yeah. Or is the donkey the Is it the donkeys, the
Oh,
Republicans,
girl,
and
it's
the
donkey
elephant?
and
Is the
people are gonna
Democrats?
drag us for this.
Wait, no, guys, Matt and I don't vote, so like we don't. I mean, we don't vote in the presidency, so like.
Oh yeah, that's what you're gonna say. It's gonna make everyone sound better.
Donkey elephant. I can't remember who it is. Oh, Democrats are donkeys.
I was about
Okay,
to say,
so
I'm like,
it
I
says-
think it's the lamer one for the Democrats.
So it's like it's as if the year before they were carrying around a flag with the elephant on it, and then Obama gets inaugurated, and they just swap out the flag for the one with the donkey, but like nothing else changes.
it's hard because
right?
when you
Like-
say Republican flag, I just immediately think of a cute anon flag. or like a "Don't tread on me" like Blue
Yeah,
Lives
no,
Matter flag. That's all I think of. I didn't even think of the elephant donkey.
the Jonas Brothers could have easily performed at the Trump inauguration or at the like Kamala Harris Center for like disease prevention, policing in schools, and literacy.
Literacy for literacy.
Yeah, literacy for literacy. So, do the Jonas Brothers know how to read? Have we answered that question in this series? They didn't go to school.
What was that
so I'm just
program they were
wondering.
in? I don't know. They know how to read the Bible. I think that's all they know.
Yeah. It's not good. So they go on Barbara Walters, and it's an interesting interview. We'll put it here at the top of the episode. I don't have much to say on it other than that Babs is so hostile to them throughout the
She's a
interview.
menace.
And all the YouTube comments are like, wow, this old bitch is rude as hell.
I mean, she was rude as hell.
I will just quickly click into this ONTD article about it from 2009, which again, like ONTD,
I
like
bet
one
the
of
copy
the
on this is amazing.
one of the prime historical artifacts of our age.
Legitimately.
I just love these comments. I'm loving this sassy Nick. I was like, damn, Nick is the real head bitch in charge. I love BSB. Will forever own these bitches. OMG, that was kind of awkward to watch. And I really thought Nick was going to start crying or something when he was talking about the fetus. I'm like, what is happening here? Or read all comments. I love that it like, oh, there we go. It redirects. ONTD is like so. Oh,
And these are from like 15
Barbara
years
Walters.
ago.
She was rude as fuck to Bonnie Hunt, and I love Bonnie Hunt.
Oh my god.
I love it. I'm still deeply disturbed by the fact that I would completely make out with Joe Jonas, and I'm like 7 years his senior.
Girl.
Also, this was interesting to watch, but it was kind of random that it was on the Oscar special. I
wait,
can't
that
even
is
tell
weird.
you.
It's really weird.
Yeah, this interview was weak. I expect more from you, Barbara. Why so femme, Kevin? Joe Jonas drives a Mercedes G-Class G55. What the fuck?
Me. That was me, actually.
$20 as he crashes it very soon. Got it. Cool. LOL, Joe, you and Taylor are not friends. For some goddamn reason, if I had to be interviewed by Barbara, no way in hell would I be able to keep a straight face. It's so awkward. I just love it. I kind of love the way Nick shut her down about the Miley question. He got some points. Anyways, so the fans were very hostile to Barbara Walters. And if you want to listen to that interview, we have it linked in our notes. Okay. So Daily Mail puts out an article that I just mostly am talking about for the headline because, you know, I love a Daily Mail article headline. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
Joe Jonas Mania sweeps Hollywood as sibling stars turn out to premiere of new film. Thousands of screaming fans lined the streets to witness the trio of brothers turn out to watch the first screening of Jonas Brothers, the 3D concert experience. Some of the boy band's teen admirers had to wait in the queue outside the El Capitan Theater in California for as long as 27 hours in a desperate bid to get the best of the siblings. The group performed 2 sellout tours last year in the United States, won an American Music Award, and their self-titled debut album in 2008's A Little Bit Longer were both certified gold in the UK and have sold in excess of 4 million copies worldwide.
27 hours for a movie?
For about the Jonas Brothers. And by the way, we have something about that later, but the movie flops. I think it makes like $20 million.
Well,
for the
that's
record,
not
we talked.
too
I think
bad, I
Miley's
guess.
made almost 80.
Yeah, it was like the highest grossing concert film ever, I think. Until now.
Yeah, it was. So Taylor Swift outsells the Jonas Brothers. This is from the New York Times music chart report. So This is from March 4th, 2009.
I'm sorry, it's just so crazy that they're both
Oh my God,
touring.
I had just turned, wait, how old were we?
Oh yeah, this
How
would have
old
been
are we?
your...
I just turned...
14.
14.
Yeah, it would have been 14th
Or the
birthday.
day after I turned 14.
It's so crazy that they are both still touring right now.
I know.
It's like,
so
been
extending her
forever.
big winning streak on the Billboard album chart, Taylor Swift's Fearless, remember Fearless, held at number 1 for an 11th week with sales of 73,000, according to the Nielsen SoundScan. Only 5 other solo female artists have had albums with 11 or more weeks at the top spot in the 5-decade history of the Billboard charts. Now, this is crazy. We forget how long Taylor Swift has been around, but this was 2009, okay? 2009, and she was number 1 for 11 weeks straight. Here's the company that she keeps in that record holding space. Alanis Morissette, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Carole King, and Judy Garland.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
And knowing it's only gone up so much.
Yeah.
Since
So
then.
also this last week, the Virginia metal band Lambs of God new release Wrath reached number 2 with 68,000 sales, and the Jonas Brothers 3D concert experience, the soundtrack to their new film, opened at number 3 with 50,000. As with the film, which opened both last weekend, the album fell far short of industry sales expectations. With a boost from 8 Oscars, the soundtrack for Slumdog Millionaire moved 44,000 copies, reaching number 4, and Nickelback's Dark Horse was number 5 with 41,000.
Well, I mean, when the last album had 4 million copies worldwide, like it needed to hit a few 100,000 out of the gate, I'm sure, to get even close.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like, so this is a narrative that begins to emerge in 2009 that the commercial viability of the Jonas Brothers has firmly begun to completely wane. That, like, their ability to move copies of things and their ability to sell out stadiums and their ability to, like, push merchandising like prospects across like their different sectors in clothing, in candy, in like, you know, concert appearances, Camp Rock, etc., is waning. Like their star power is bought, and it does have a very quick expiration date. I think that's one thing that I really have learned through this series, I think, is like you just remember the Jonas Brothers as being this huge thing, and then you go back and you're like, wow, they really had like a solid 3 years of explosive fame and then fizzled out. And they are the generally, like, I think, accepted definition of industry plants that do not have longevity.
Exactly.
Because their fame was paid for by a multi-billion-dollar international corporation.
It's been like so great to see people reach out to us and talk about how they truly felt like me, and we all talked about before, felt brainwashed by Disney and thinking these were like mega pop stars when they were legitimately just newbies who were brought into the scene, just signed a big deal and were told you're going to be big pop stars today. And it's so funny to see.
The Jonas Brothers are literally the exact plot of Josie and the Pussycats.
Yes! Oh my God, you're right.
Like Josie and the Pussycats is about the Jonas Brothers.
It kind of is.
They're like
sell
a
this baby bottle
small-time
pop and
Christian,
get going.
small-time Christian rock band from like middle of nowhere, New Jersey, gets bought up by a multi-mega conglomerate that then starts like inserting McDonald's advertisements subliminally into their songs. And then a breakup is on the horizon, but we're going to get to that. So
I need to rewatch
let's
that
keep
movie.
going.
So
oh my God, the breakup is like my favorite part of this story. So Miley Cyrus, that week also in March, talks about why she wrote about Nick Jonas in her music and also in her memoir, Miley Cyrus, Miles to Go. Can you make a note of that we need to read her 2009 memoir that she wrote at 16 years old?
I know you said that, and it went right through my head. I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
You're like, ugh. So Miley doesn't refer to Nick by name at this age, nor in the book. She simply refers to him in the book as Prince Charming and says, quote, I would say that it was hard to write about him, she's saying to MTV, but it was also the best thing I ever did and the best thing I will ever do, because I think it's a good thing that you get like a flashback and really remember all those moments. I think it's important not to grow up so much that you forget about your heart and what's important in your head. Now, for those of you who are saying, what did she say? What did she say? You're going to have to tune into Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball later this year when we actually dig into that memoir.
By the way,
but
you know what's crazy? This memoir, by the way, is now going for $42 paperback. There are It is an average rating of almost 5 stars. A lot of reviews coming from 2022. And they're legitimately all saying, there is a review that says, let me just say, when I first heard Miley had a book out, I laughed, I called it a joke, I ignored it completely. It was only until very recently I picked it up and read it. I was completely wrong. Miles to Go has got to be one of the best books I've ever read. No, I'm not joking. The simple fact of the matter is Miley is not who we thought she was. She has real struggles. She experienced real hardships.
Yeah.
She's got a great message, not only for girls, but women everywhere. There are so many 5-star. Okay, I can't wait, girl. Like, this is
we're gonna
order my copy now.
Yeah. We're gonna read 2 books on eating for free this year. We're gonna read Miley Cyrus' Mouths to Go and Britney Spears' The Woman in Me. So
I love it. I love my job.
The Jonas Brothers in June. We're gonna skip forward a little bit. So Nick during this time is like on and off again dating Camilla Bell. Can you look up Camilla Bell for me?
I already did earlier, and I think she's like legitimately done nothing since the 2010s.
No. It's like she's like I really listen. I'm not trying to be rude to Camilla Bell. Like she fell off. I would say
fine.
Like her work has been recognized in independent films such as The Quiet in 2005 and The Mad Whale.
She was also in 10,000 BC and Push, 2009's Push. When a Stranger Calls also.
Also, she was a full, like, again, we're not doing age cap discourse. She was like a full 3 years older than Nick. So it was like, you know, like she was a full 3 years older than Joe. So like there was this narrative about them that whole year that like Joe likes older women. And we actually have something about that in a little bit. But
it looks
they're
like she's
on and off
been
again dating.
I'm on her Instagram. It looks like she's been striking for SAG-AFTRA. So
yeah,
I love that.
She has. Yeah, no shade to Camilla Bell. Like she's a girl about town, you know. She's just in the grand scheme of things like a bit player in this story.
Yeah.
So they announced on June 15th, 2009 that they have like a new album coming out. Jonas, Nick specifically, tells Billboard at the time that the album is taking steps. We're trying to learn as much as we can, continuing to grow. Kevin then says that the overall message is it's the same old Jonas Brothers in a sense, but adding more and more music, including horns and strings and different musical instruments that are going to add and build to the sound that we already have. Nick says that on the album, they said they had used their journals to write some of the songs and, quote, all the things we've gone through, personal experiences we get inspiration from, etc. Elvis Costello is cited as a reference point for the music, which if you listen to the album, it's like, where is Elvis in this?
They love to bring up like these like, you know, pillars of the rock community. And I'm always like, I don't know where that's coming in.
So they also gear up for their first world tour on June 20th. They're playing on a 144 foot wide round stage that will incorporate a large circular water screen. Kevin says that, quote, we've developed a new way to use this. It will add a very interesting effect. It will feel like you're in a whole other world when you come in the arena and you see the stage. Joe says, quote, we wanted to find a way to provide a bigger and better show to our fans. The entire bottom half of the arena and the upper desk is essentially a front row ticket. He added that the group hasn't decided yet whether to film the show for a DVD or feature film follow-up to their current Jonas Brothers, the 3D concert experience. Okay,
Wild.
So Joe Jonas and Camilla Bell, so shady. This is from later.
It's a TMZ headline. Of course it is.
Yeah. So this is from later in March. So after they announced their album coming out in June, Joe and Camilla just start to get like weird dating rumor stories written about them. TMZ says, quote, despite rumors they broke up and looking like they stepped out of Hipster Weekly, evangelical Christian dandy boy bander Joe Jonas and his equally overly accessorized platonic girlfriend
drag them to the ground.
Listen to this. Overly accessorized platonic girlfriend and evangelical Christian dandy boy bander. It's like
a read of a century.
Had lunch in Beverly Hills. If they break up, who will keep the skinny jeans?
Oh,
okay, homophobia. This series is also about casual 2000s homophobia. Like just extremely casual, like, hey, faggot.
Also them being like virgins is like a whole thing. It's so weird to see them like be like hated for it in a way that is so odd, even though it's so like Christian.
So, we have the introduction of somebody here who
No.
is near and dear to the Eating for Free Hearts.
Absolutely not.
A true legend.
Absolutely not.
I would say she is the patron saint of Eating for Free
Oh,
and
they're talking about
one of
somebody
our
else.
guiding
Okay.
stars. This is actually the origin story of Vanderpump Rules right here. In the middle of our in the middle of our Jonas
Okay,
Brothers
there are
series.
3 different names on these notes, and I keep moving between who you're talking about, and now I'm actually gagged out of control. I had no idea you were going to bring this up.
If you didn't think that Sheena Marie was going to not make an appearance in this fucking series,
Queen
you're
legend mother.
wrong.
Queen legend mother of our time.
So Sheena Marie, who plays a pizza delivery girl on the Jonas Brothers' upcoming TV show Jonas, makes an appearance at last in the Jonas Brothers Chastity Crusade. I would say she's a frontline fighter in their Chastity Crusade. She is at the forefront of this. She is one of their frontline generals. She has like a banner and a horse and a full suit of armor and everything. She says to people, so first the People headline from, was it April 24th, 2009, meet John Mayer's new gal pal. Following his split from Jennifer Aniston famously, John Mayer has been spending time with a new woman, cocktail waitress and actress Sheena Marie. We're friends, Marie tells people. He's a great guy. He's funny and sweet. Sources say Marie, 23, and Mayer, 31, met in 2008 at the Beverly Hills Cigar Club Havana room, where she currently works as a bartender and cocktail waitress. Although the pair have not stepped out publicly, quote, they've spent time together over the past few months, a source tells people, quote, they're enjoying getting to know each other. Marie is also an aspiring actress. She guest stars as Maria, the pizza delivery girl of the Jonas Brothers' dreams on their upcoming TV show Jonas, which debuts on the Disney Channel on May 2nd. Maria's episode airs May 16th. The former model, who has appeared in ads for Pioneer, Doritos, Nissan, and Toyota, graduated in 2006 with a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism from Azusa Pacific
That's
University.
right. I know that's right. Literate queen.
She's a working girl. Sheena Marie has been famous since 2009. Which other Vanderpump cast member can say that? Okay. Before we get into the rest of this, let's take a quick break and then get back later. So we are back. And we have a little bit more after Sheena Marie's glorious introduction into the Eating for Free cinematic universe for the first time ever. That story I was telling you about like the older women in Joe's life. So at the time, Joe's like 19. And it's like less weird, I think, to fixate on a 19-year-old's love life than like a 15-year-old's love life like Nick. But it's still like just odd that like there was this much coverage to it. But I guess things haven't changed. It's just odd, I guess, because there's been this much coverage since he was like 16 and Nick was like 12, you know?
Yeah.
So he went out unchaperoned. I love hit the town unchaperoned with Lisa.
If you're saying unchaperoned, you shouldn't be talking about their love life. Like, pick a lane.
Like, come on.
Pick a direction
with
here.
Lisa, 24, of the Veronicas. So the Veronicas are in the mix now.
Okay.
Taylor Swift, Camilla Bell, and now Lisa. This guy has, quote, not slept with a lot of chicks. Ew. Also just weird because they're like talking about it to just say a like chastity ring joke.
No, it's like truly a sick obsession with their virginity because it was first, oh my God, they're virgins. Like how weird and like dapper and like pretty boy of them. Now it's all like, when will they lose it? When will they turn to man whores? Like it's such a weird obsession.
Yeah, it's weird. And it shows again that like the most that the chastity rings kind of come into the picture is one at their expense, but two like mostly tongue-in-cheek jokes from places like TMZ. So Matt, we have this next article from May 24th, 2009. And this kind of goes into what I was talking about a little bit earlier about how really we start to see like the telltale signs that their star power to the world at large, not necessarily to the preteen audience, but to the market itself, really starts to wane quite considerably and is picked up by cultural commentators, which I think add into the sort of like, like lingering question in everyone else's mind, like, oh, maybe they are over, right? Because at that point, I think places like New York Times, New York Magazine, Vanity Fair, etc., they still had enough cultural cachet to really define like what was cool and what wasn't cool, and also like what people should be paying attention to.
Especially at this
Things
time.
have changed a lot, but I would say that was still a time, I think, when people were somewhat paying attention. So why don't you start reading this? Boy band is starting to feel the heat, and just kind of read into like cut you off, and we'll talk about it.
Sounds good. The Jonas Brothers sat backstage recently at the El Rey Theater here, politely answering questions from a small cluster of reporters about their new CD. Publicists conducted SWAT team surveillance. In the end, nobody had the temerity or the opportunity, since the interview session was cut short, to ask the tough question: are the Jonas Brothers fizzing as a full-blown Walt Disney Company franchise? It's a notion that Disney, the world's largest media company, thinks is ludicrous. Hot as a pistol is how Abby Konowich, general manager of Hollywood Records, the Disney-owned label, describes them. Mr. Konowich noted that the pop band's summer tour, a 3-continent extravaganza built around the brothers' 4th studio album, Lines, Vines, and Trying Times, sold over 800,000 tickets in its first weekend, no small feat in a dismal economy. The new CD, inspired in part by the music of Neil Diamond, arrives in stores on June 16th amid a flood of publicity, including a Rolling Stone cover and a free concert in Central Park. The Jonas Brothers are trying to expand beyond the Disney footprint and shouldn't be evaluated as a company franchise, said Johnny White, the group's co-manager. We consult with Disney, but Disney doesn't tell us what to do, he said. The band's outside efforts include a line of branded energy drinks and starring roles in Walter the Farting Dog, a movie for 20th Century Fox based on the best-selling children's book. The trio had cameo roles of a sort in Night at the Museum at Battle of the Smithsonian, which was #1 movie at the box office over the weekend. Quote, people are wrong when they say the bubble will burst, Mr. Wright continued. It's just changing. We are focused on longevity and transitioning to a slightly older audience. When you do that, you risk losing some of your core fan base. Their debut film, The Jonas Brothers 3D Concert Experience, was a dud, selling just $19.2 million in tickets in North America theaters in February. Disney had hoped the movie would generate sales of around $40 million, according to a senior studio executive. Mr. Konowich said expectations for the 3D concert experience were unfairly high, knowing that the band had just come off a lengthy tour that enabled most fans to see the trio in person. Mr. Wright said, it irks me when people say the movie was a flop. If 19 million is a flop, I'll take it.
Because people are saying it. That's the other thing, right? Like if your projections are 40 million and that's what you're telling investors on the quarterly calls, that like it's going to hit 40 million and you hit 19 million.
Classic capitalism dynamics here.
I do wonder how much cost it was to film and produce, as well as like the cost. I mean, the tour definitely, I would think, made money, but I would love to know how much money the movie made in its budget.
Well, like, yeah, because they're already, I mean, the concert's already happening. So like
Disney could be so stingy about that kind of thing.
I have to imagine 20 million is like still profitable, hopefully so, on top of
but
this.
we know the accompanying album for it did like flop in relationship.
That is a bit more like, no.
It holds a 24% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The
How
site's
is it,
consensus
like, bad?
reads,
Like, what's
Jonas Brothers should please the Jonas Brothers 3D concert experience should please the brothers' adoring followers, but not for non-converts. This concert film is flat and unenlightening. So, according to Box Office Mojo, the film is actually currently at, if I was to get it here correctly, number 13 on the list of all-time concert films. For its lifetime gross of 19 million. Mm-hmm. This actually includes a few concert films, like in the sense of comedy. So it has like Eddie Murphy Raw, Original Kings of Comedy, Richard Pryor on the Sunset Strip, Kevin Hart, 2 Kevin Hart ones, and then a Martin Lawrence comedy thing as well, but they are boxed the same, so we're just going to leave them in there.
Interesting.
Ahead of him, and we'll just list the amount of concert films ahead of them. That'll be easier here. So Taylor Swift Eras Tour #1.
Of
so
course.
Remember the Renaissance Tour has not yet come out, so that will change these rankings, obviously, bumping them further down. Justin Bieber Never Say Never. This Is It, which is the Michael Jackson one from 2009. Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus, Best of Both Worlds, #4. And then we have some comedy stuff, and then One Direction, This Is Us at #9. A Part of Me, which is the Katy Perry one from 2000, I think 2000. 12. That's at number 10. And then we have the Jonas Brothers at number 13. So like not a whole lot of concert stuff, but like it's a rather precipitous drop from One Direction and Part of Me.
Yeah, how much is One Direction and Justin Bieber? How much did they make?
So Justin Bieber, it's a huge drop from the Justin Bieber stuff. So actually it is just a generally precipitous drop from Taylor Swift because we're just living in a different time and those tickets were expensive. So Justin Bieber is 73 million.
Wow.
Michael Jackson, 72. Hannah Montana,
Michael
like you
Jackson.
said, 65.
Wow.
Domestic lifetime gross. And then the next one is One Direction and Katy Perry at 28 and 25. And then the Jonas Brothers at 19. So, I mean, there's a gulf there between them.
I mean, it's not like a total flop, but I get what they mean.
It is I think you could say it is a flop, though, because if you think of how Justin had that huge popularity so quickly, like we talked about,
That's
like
true.
this is like at what should have been the apex of the Jonas Brothers.
It's true. I see
Like,
what you mean by that.
career. So like in terms of like what their fame
Well, it does
was at
mean
the
that
time,
like there's not much more we can go from this is kind of what it
Yeah.
does say. It's more like economically, this is probably the best they'll ever do.
yeah. So
Which is
let's
fair.
start over again from where you were reading in that New York Times piece. Do you still have it?
Mr. Konowich also doused some cold water in Miley Cyrus's drawing power, saying that her concert movie, Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, Best of Both Worlds, became a phenomenon that sold 65.3 million in 2008, partly because the Jonas Brothers appeared in it as well. Miley Cyrus did not appear in the Jonas Brothers movie. That's actually a really good point.
It is a good point,
That
but
makes a
okay,
lot
so
of sense.
if they drew $20 million, let's just say $20 million flat, and she drew $65 million
how are you
a
gonna-
year earlier,
You're never
I'm
gonna-
sorry, but it's really not comparable because like, okay, so she has $40 million in drawing power and they still have 20, right?
Yeah. It's like still.
And again, it shows that there are stars in Disney's catalog that have star power outside of the Disney machine, like Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, right? Miley Cyrus is a fame that has transcended Disney.
Yeah.
The Jonas Brothers have shown, I think, throughout the last year in their careers, 2009 I'm speaking of specifically, that they are not capable of transcending Disney at this point in their careers, that they cannot evolve past the Disney machinery, that like Miley and Hannah, as Miley Cyrus herself performing her original songs, can draw $65 million in literally the grips of the Disney machine at the apex of their careers, the most money they were ever making as the Jonas Brothers. They could not draw $20 million in people to the
This
theater.
is also during a like global recession. So
No, it is during global
it
recession.
actually
and I think-
at this point it probably does really matter. Like
yeah, no, it does matter. And I also think that it shows again that like there is a thing as too much of a commodity in art, right? Like Miley Cyrus was everywhere, but I think that Miley made the right choice. I mean, ultimately in her career, I think that she made several choices that were terrible. But in the grand scheme of things, I think that Miley has a specific aura of mystique and unattainability for as much as she has an aura of like relatability.
Yeah.
I'm just like you. I do drugs. I make mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I think that whatever the brand Miley Cyrus capitalized on post leaving Disney, which we will explore later,
I can't wait.
worked. And people did not find they had too much of it. And at points, the infuriating response to her and the way that people were annoyed with her and mad at her for completely justifiable reasons aided that star power. Whereas the Jonas Brothers, I think, are proving that like there is such a thing as too much Disney, that like there is such a thing as like too much of something. People are not going to come back to spend X amount of money after two tours in 2 years, 4 albums in 3 years, almost 5 really if you count the live album as well. 5 albums in like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
You have 2 tours, you have 2 concert movies back to back in multiple years. It's like, I think people are like,
Give it
oh
a
my God,
break.
it's too much. It's too
I
much.
can
Like,
actually
you don't need
see
this much.
I can actually see the parents now saying, I already bought you tickets to the Miley movie. I already got you tickets to the concert. Like, we're not
Yeah.
doing this again.
Yeah.
Parents,
So-
because the thing, the gag is all this money is about the parents' wallets. It's not about the kids. It's how much the kids
Yeah.
can convince the parents to spend the money.
And also, again, so now they have a TV show coming that has been pushed back so much now that we're well within the range of an era when like commercial viability was stunted by the market, was stunted by the economic conditions of the people that the Jonas Brothers were marketing to, which was white, wealthy, upper middle class people. Wealthy, I think, in the grand sense of things, but we would say they were middle class
and upper.
Yeah, but they're like marketing to white middle class people in the suburbs. Those people are also hit by the recession. People are losing their homes. People are losing their jobs. Economic uncertainty is sweeping the nation. We've had multiple bailouts at that point. It's like, I think that it is well deserved for us at least to like apply that to what they were able to do. But like, we see even on television, this TV show that gets pushed back is really not moving the ratings for them at all. Like, it's a flop of a TV show. It's successful on Disney, but it is not successful as a cultural export like Miley Cyrus was.
I'm just like remembering those TikToks where people are like me when I was like 11 begging my mom to take me to the Miley Cyrus concert when like my parents tried to keep their house from going into foreclosure. Disney executives are like, drain them. I don't care what it takes. I don't care if they're losing their home. We need to get them to spend hundreds a year on Disney merch and other items.
So this is funny. So this is like for perspective, the changing nature of the Disney market. So it debuts to 2.4 million kids on May 2nd of 2009. Jonas does. And it reaches the target demo that they want, and it puts it at number 1, beating the counter programming of Nickelodeon. Now, mind you, it is a pilot episode. It's the premiere episode.
Yeah, always
it doesn't
the
have longevity, we find out. But it was, even though it was number 1 and it beat out the Nickelodeon programming that night, it was the second lowest live action premiere of Disney in the late 2000s.
Ooh,
so
that's bad.
From 2005 to 2010, it was the second lowest watched premiere of anything that they had done since 2005.
And that's a big deal because these are people who have been out for a while, have been successful. Like it almost like statistically and like logically shouldn't be this low performing.
So I just actually want to look at that really quick because I have obviously the okay, so original live action. So I'm looking at,
you have the what you said?
I have the like former programming for Disney up right now. So this is Disney Channel Originals. So if we're talking about the series that premiered, so live action, that's key here. Is this an animation? Okay, cool. So this is animated. Let's scroll down to comedy. Yeah. Okay. So since 2005, we have had That's So Raven, Phil of the Future,
Mama.
Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Those are the 3
banger
other
after
shows.
banger.
Yeah.
These are like IP generating monsters, these brands.
Let's see, premiere date.
At the time.
Sort this by. Okay, so I missed a few because it wasn't sorted by premiere date. So we have That's So Raven, Phil of the Future, Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, Hannah Montana, Corey in the House, Wizards of Waverly Place,
My God.
Sweet Life on Deck, Sunny with a Chance.
I mean, when you think about it, no one talks about the Jonas Brothers show. Like, it's not really brought up as like a cultural talking point in any regard. We only talk about their music, and even then it's still like pretty specific.
Jonas, second lowest premiere Disney. I want to see if we can find a list of who it doesn't say who they premiered after, though.
Oh, yeah, because they always like to lead that.
It was the lowest rated action and live action series since a show called Life with Derek.
Oh, my God. That is that show. I never watched it, but everyone brings it up because of the weird incest vibes on the show.
Really?
I've seen so many TikToks of people talking about how that show was like a fever dream because it was so weird and uncomfortable. Because like this, it's like something, I think it's like their stepbrother and sister. That's like the whole premise is like the stepbrother comes in who's annoying, but they have this like weird like romantic dynamic they put in. Everyone was like, what is going on here?
So
God, the Disney execs literally getting like buckets of cash delivered to their door every morning because of these programs they create, and then the Jonas Brothers are actually starting to flop. It's kind of hilarious.
So, by the way, so I'm getting this from so it was the second rated, it was the lowest rated live action series premiere among kids 6 to 11 since 2005's Life with Derek, and I'm getting this from the LA Times. The show's debut numbers fall far behind those for a recent new episode of Hannah Montana, which scored 4.8 million. Okay, so for the record, they're hitting 2.4, and Hannah Montana, well into the thing, is hitting 4.8, which drew overall viewers. And then also Sunny with a Chance with Demi Lovato got... Jonas fared better than Sunny with a Chance. Okay, so, I mean, Sunny with a Chance premiered better, but it averaged less overall viewers than Jonas did in its first season. But a rep for Disney Channel, I'm getting this again from the LA Times, pointed out that Jonas was the network's first ever Saturday premiere for a series, which was part of a deliberate strategy to open up the night to original programming, as opposed to the animation block that they ran on Saturdays. The rep also noted that Disney had a robust business with the group across music, studio, and consumer products divisions. But that's almost like more embarrassing, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, statistically, this should have worked. Like, it's kind of shocking.
They're like, okay, well, it's a Saturday, and we have a robust business with them, so it's going to be fine. But it's like, okay, but if you have this robust business, if you have this like landed branding platform for them that like is persistent across all of your marketing channels, like the Saturday Gambit should have worked, right?
It would have worked if it was Miss Miley Cyrus, I'm sure. But star power, let's talk about
Nickelodeon original shows Saturdays. I don't know. I mean, Saturday programming block. Okay, so former. I'm looking just at Nickelodeon to see. Okay, wait.
I can't remember what I was doing on Saturdays as a kid.
Okay, so that's why they did it. They were trying to beat out iCarly. So iCarly, because I was like, iCarly's on Saturdays, right?
I remember. Mistake. That was the mistake.
Listen to this. Listen to this.
Should not have come up against Miss Cosgrove.
This was the Saturday programming block for Nickelodeon, formerly at least, for live action specifically. iCarly, Big Time Rush, Victorious.
Oh, they were getting ate up.
And then Sam and Cat, obviously much later in 2013. But at the time, Victorious hasn't been on yet, because that's in 2010. I don't think Big Time Rush had premiered just yet, but iCarly had premiered in 2007. So they were trying to capitalize on the iCarly demo, which is why they compared it to iCarly's. We
always have to remember, it is Disney versus Cartoon Network versus Nickelodeon, like, as always.
Yeah.
Especially Nickelodeon.
So it's just... It's interesting that we can just see so clearly what their gambit was here, and it didn't work.
I think the lesson is women are more interesting.
Yeah, women, heart emoji.
Women, heart emoji, yeah.
Okay, so the ratings is surprising given and we're going back to the New York Times now, quote, given that Camp Rock, the Disney Channel musical starring the brothers, was #1 cable telecast for 2008, but it still did not beat High School Musical, and that's important here.
Of course.
Does the band feel the pressure to have a big summer? Quote, we're all talking about those gradual steps, says Nick. Kevin says, quote, we definitely have no expectations. In a statement by the Disney Channel, they said, quote, they were pleased with the early ratings for the show, noting that it had reached nearly 10 million total viewers over its first 6 telecasts. The Jonas Brothers fans, the company added, have given DisneyChannel.com its best results for 2009. Now, if it reached 10 million on average, that means over 6 telecasts. Don't ask me to do 10 divided by 6.
It's like under 2 million each, basically.
Yeah, so,
are we taking out a calculator?
It's 10 divided by 2. It's 1.6 million average.
There we go. Yeah.
So Hannah Montana is averaging 4, right?
Yeah.
Averaging 6. It's like...
It's just not even comparable.
1.4? Okay. They also said that they hoped the show would become a beachhead on Saturday, like the LA Times pointed out, dominated by Nickelodeon. If Jonas can dent the ratings for iCarly, the Nickelodeon show opposite it, that is rapidly becoming a phenomenon. I love that it's rapidly becoming a phenomenon in 2009.
I mean, they're not wrong.
No, they're not wrong, but it had been on since 2007, so it's just funny that they're like, it's rapidly becoming a phenomenon. It's like, I think we were all solidly iCarly fans by 2009.
Yeah, drive that's been going.
The Brothers sitcom will be considered a big success internally at Disney, but not necessarily externally. And then this is my favorite part. Quote, even so, if the Jonas Brothers are truly going to cross over, they need to do it with a punishing speed. Children 6 to 14, the so-called tween market, have always been fickle, and allegiances come and go faster than ever. In an industry parlance, the band needs to strike before its core fans, young girls, age out of the experience. The band's last album, A Little Bit Longer, was released in August and has sold 1.5 million, according to Nielsen.
Oh, that's a big drop.
Sales of their 2007 album, Jonas Brothers, reached 1.8. So they sold less in their third album than they did in their second album.
I was going to say, ooh.
Worldwide, they've sold 8.1, according to Disney.
It's funny how these are like huge numbers, but because the audience again is like gonna age out soon, they're so fickle.
If two albums combined sold 8.1 million CDs now, like people would think you were the coming of Christ. Okay, like people would think it's the fucking rapture.
But because like, it's like tweens, like literally like minors that are listening, it's just through these like horizontally vertically integrated platforms. They know that like these numbers almost don't matter in like 2 years. Like there's no longevity.
And it's interesting that they say they need to do it with punishing speed because the allegiances come and go faster than ever. Guess who debuts next year?
Who?
Jonas Brothers, Justin Bieber.
Oh, yeah.
Justin, I love that. Like
the
we
JB
did
to the
Justin
JB,
Bieber, and then Justin Bieber is just the shadow looming over the Jonas Brothers.
Like, I mean, no one stood a chance. Like no one stood a chance.
Kevin goes to sleep, and he just feels a cold dread across his hairline. Like he just feels like an icy chill go across his bangs. Yeah, Joe's bangs are getting blown to the side by an icy chill.
It is crazy. We like switch out one JB for another JB. Like it's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Talk about an iconic acronym.
I mean, and I'm sure Scooter capitalized on that. So, in June 24th, they electrify the Hill because Nick, teen heartthrob of the Jonas Brothers, I'm getting this from Politico, was in town and testified before a Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee hearing on federal funding for diabetes research.
I'm sorry. Again, we're not laughing at.
We're not laughing at diabetes.
We're just
laughing at the fact that Nick Jonas still has diabetes. Yeah. Okay, so shout out Nick Jonas still has diabetes. Okay, let's click on this next link, Matt. I just want you to describe to me this photo that you see.
The people one.
Yeah.
Kevin Jonas gets engaged. Oh my god. Okay, this photo being like 1:44 also. Okay. What is going on here?
Okay. Don't they look like Joe and Melissa Gorga?
Exactly. It's exactly what's giving.
So Daniel DeLisa and Kevin Jonas get engaged. She has on it's like the most Italian photo you've ever seen. Like if The Sopranos was made now, this is like one of Tony's henchmen, right? Like this is The Sopranos. Like
the hand over the chest and like stomach to be like he's mine. Very
that. Yeah, the hand over the stomach and over his chest. It's like
a vibe.
Mine.
And then like the matching white. Oh my
they met in the Bahamas on a vacation, and then she's a former hairdresser. She said, I didn't know who the Jonas Brothers were when they first met, but then they rapidly fell in love. He popped the question after arriving in New Jersey on an overnight flight from a concert in Vancouver. And he said, quote, "It was tough performing last night, knowing that I was going to ask the biggest question in my life to the most amazing girl in the world." Then Joe and Camilla Bell later that month in July split. People says, quote, "Joe Jonas and Camilla Bell have split. Yes, it's true. They have broken up," says Brad Caffarelli, Bell's rep. "There is no third party involved, and they care deeply with each other, and they will remain friends." PR relationship. Their contract. Camilla's contract with Joe expired, and she's moving on to other business opportunities.
Exactly.
So this is my favorite part, though. The day after the split gets announced, this was the part that shook me to the core of this episode. Okay, Matt, don't look at that too much, okay? Stop looking at the Daily Mail link. What happened during Sophie and Joe's divorce news breaking announcements? What was happening with Joe on stage? What was he doing?
Just recently, basically?
Just recently.
Oh, he was doing his, whole heartbroken act, but also, now I'm single, so I'm sexy again.
Yeah. He was doing his, wedding ring. He was doing his, this is dedicated to Sophie.
I still care about you, but also, I'm single now, so what's up?
Yeah, I'm single now, so what's up? But no. So he has a whole act that he does after he breaks up with Sophie and surprise divorces her.
Yeah, where he, does those lyrics again that are about her, a song he wrote for her.
He, sings the songs about her. He breaks down on stage. He cries.
Yeah.
He's like, y'all have been there for me for such a tough time. Well, looky here. what was this, 14 years ago, he had the exact same playbook after breaking up with actress Camilla Bell. He breaks down in tears on stage the next day.
Can I load these photos now? Am I allowed to look?
Yeah. Teen heartthrob Joe Jonas was overcome with emotion during a concert in Detroit. He broke down in tears in front of the crowd while performing I Gotta Find You in front of 18,000 adoring fans.
Oh, Lord.
The track is allegedly supposed to be about Camilla Bell, but people also think it's about Taylor Swift.
My favorite thing about this, your own adventure.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this is just like remembering that like these are people that he dated for like 3 or 4 months. You know, like it's like,
right? I'm like,
he's
what was so
like
serious?
Nick and Miley dated for like a solid 4 months.
And and Joe is 19. So like,
yeah, just 19.
It's not that deep.
Like,
sorry. Like,
no, it's just funny to me. So Kevin then in September chooses his best men for the wedding. Obviously, it's going to be Joe and Nick. He says on the set of Camp Rock 2, The Final Jam, where he is promoting the film at set, he's like, got to get in my wedding plugs here. Obviously, Joe and Nick are going to be parts of his best men. And then he says, quote, Danny or Danielle has an older and younger sister, so it works out really well. I can have 2 best men. She can have 2 maids of honor. And it's kind of like, I think he's only going to have 2 best men because he only has 2 friends.
I was going to say, like, does he have anyone else?
Yeah. So in 2009, another really big thing rocks the world of the Jonas Brothers fandom, as well as just the Jonas Brothers internally. We don't know that it rocks them internally just yet, but we are reaching the end of today's episode. But we can start to see the cracks forming, right? So throughout this episode, we've talked a little bit about how their numbers are waning. Their popularity is changing drastically. They are showing that they necessarily can't compete as the brothers anymore, as the unit that they have been marketed as by Disney. And if we're going to go back all the way to the beginning of this series, Matt, can you tell us who the original person in the Jonas Brothers was doing music?
Wasn't it the youngest? Wasn't it Nick?
It was Nick.
Yeah, he was doing his
Nick,
like little
remember?
Christmas music.
The first Jonas Brothers album was actually going to be a Nick Jonas album.
Yeah.
That was like a Christian
because he had made some
rock
mixes
album.
and like recordings from the church because his brothers were doing acting.
He had
instead.
charted on Christian radio before his brothers ever even picked up instruments.
I still won't forget, I don't know what's name, like Pammy from Kentucky say like, your music made me cry and like I believe in God again. Like,
so Nick was really the one that got this all started. He was the proto Jonas brother.
Yeah.
He was the one that they built the entire band around, you know, and he was the one that really kept the engine running in the early days, right? And we saw that like with Miley Cyrus, that branding opportunity to be like Nick and Miley. She says, oh my God, Nick, like, you know, she has that whole scene with him in the show.
Yeah.
She sets him up as like the main character of the Jonas Brothers. And little did we know at the time, obviously, there was a lot of tensions happening behind the scenes around their separate careers and their identity together as the Jonas Brothers, right? Their priorities are changing. Mm-hmm. Kevin is fully an adult. He's getting married and he's in a band with a 15-year-old, right? Like you can imagine there would be things that are awkward behind the scenes and things that are like...
They're talking about this whole thing about people aging out, but the problem is their age gap is now that. Like you have somebody in their 20s who's like, I'm ready to be an adult, and there's somebody who's still a minor. Like, how are you going to bridge this gap?
An adult also not wearing your purity ring and about to get married.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so Nick Jonas in October 30th, specifically 2009, in Billboard announces that he is recording a solo album.
It's Jover. It's literally
so Jover. Now, there's a few things I want to focus on here, so let's really like lock in on this. He says in a MySpace blog that, quote, we are not breaking up. That's the title of the MySpace blog. Literally iOS press release. He says, we are so proud of Joe and Kevin write, we are so proud of our brother Nick. We know that we will be doing music together for the rest of our lives. A 3-chord strand is not easily broken. And one thing's for sure, this 3-chord strand is stronger now than it has ever been. Okay. Nick confirms this week, by the way, that he has his solo project in the works. He has a new band, Nick Jonas and the Administration, that is a 4-musician band where they met in Nashville, Tennessee. They'd been working on this side project. It was men that he had met before, boys that he had met before. Quote, anything we do outside the group is a side project because you can't break up brothers, he says. Quote, we are already planning another world tour as the Jonas Brothers next summer, and it is all thanks to our amazing fans.
I mean,
now,
the fact that you're with like a whole other band, it's like,
yeah.
and we know this kind of is the beginning of the end for them.
Nick Jonas and the administration, it's called the administration because one of the underlying things of this episode is Nick Jonas has like an obsession with the presidency. He has an obsession with being president.
Wait,
he constantly talks about like his political aspirations in interviews.
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of left it out because it's really not that important. It's only important in relationship to the administration project.
Yeah, when he starts talking
and
to
he
like
will
Obama.
make jokes, but it's like a cutesy interview thing, right? Like that's
Okay.
why I bring it up now because it really doesn't play a major part in this story.
Yeah, it's not like now
just,
he's like, let's make it to the White House.
So in November, the Jonas Brothers start a new season at Disney of their show. The cable channel orders a second season. Billboard reports that Jonas premiered in the spring to solid numbers, but couldn't match the heights of Disney Channel hits. Production on season 2 is slated to begin in February for a premiere in the middle of the next year. And it is being rebranded as Jonas LA, where Kevin, Nick, and Joe will move to Los Angeles and lead them to landing gigs in show business.
Very Kim and Courtney Take Miami vibes.
Yeah. So Demi Lovato then in that same month denies ever dating Joe Jonas. She says, quote, it's unfortunate that some people out there are so desperate for attention that they have to make up gossip to keep their sites alive, she says. Quote, we've never dated. He's incredible, but we don't have feeling for each other in that way. And then on Twitter writes off, quote, I love you guys and I wouldn't lie about that. Reader, she was lying. Also,
Iconic.
I just want you to read this New York Times article. I just think this is really funny.
Oh, about the Xbox 360.
Yeah, can you read the headline for us?
The Jonas Brothers promote Xbox 360 November 19th, 2009. The Xbox 360 gaming system, sold by the Microsoft Corporation, is being endorsed by the Jonas Brothers rock band in a campaign that appears in properties owned by the brothers' media partners, the Walt Disney Company. Xbox 360 joins a short list of brands to be promoted by the Jonases, whose music appeals to the teenagers, pre-teenagers, and mothers, composing the target audience for the gaming system. The multi-million-dollar campaign, created internally at Disney, is part of a larger initiative for Xbox 360 that carries the theme "It's More Fun Time," which is created by TAG in San Francisco, part of the McCann World Group division of the Interpublic Group of Companies. Oh,
Yeah, they
God.
also say that the Jonas-centric ads are being introduced along with work from TAG, like commercials and video clips featuring the actress Jane Lynch of the hit Fox series
You
Glee.
have to laugh. I think I've seen the
Jonas-
press
yeah.
event photos from this. There's a lot of
Yeah.
randos there.
The Jonas campaign is also on television and online, as well as in print and on radio. It is time to reach consumers just as they are thinking about what, if anything, they're going to buy during the holiday season. Robert Matthews, Senior Director of Global Marketing Communications for the Interactive Enterprise business at Microsoft, says, quote, we're optimistic for the holidays. Interactive entertainment tends to be a little more recession resistant, and we're actively doing what we can to drive value for customers. Okay, so among aspects of the Jonas' campaign is an effort and opportunity to watch on Xbox Live a free episode of Jonas, the brothers sitcom on Disney
Oh,
Channel.
my God.
So they're literally such a broke TV show. Like, no one's watching it. They're like, let's do synergy with Xbox Live, where if you get Xbox Live, you get a free episode of Jonas on
That
Disney
was so
Channel.
of that time because like TV
Yeah.
wasn't so easily accessible outside of cable.
They say it comes with a custom opening segment produced with the brothers. And it also says the company's kids and mom focused media is being overseen by the same people who are working on this ad. And I just think that like, I love that there is a commercial. They say Joe, Kevin, and Nick share a gaming console with visitors to their green room backstage. The plot is apparently, as they say in the movies, based on true events. Xbox is, quote, something we've grown up with, says Kevin Jonas Sr., a manager of the band. We've traveled with Xbox since the time it came out. As long as it's in their dressing room, we're all good. That was corroborated by Kevin and Nick, who joined Mr. Jonas for the interview. The brothers have, quote, a road case with the Xbox built right in, says Kevin. Mr. Jonas said he and his sons accepted the endorsement deal because they want, quote, reliable, family-friendly brands we can associate with. I love that
What
Call
else?
of Duty and Halo are like, reliable, family-friendly brands. Quote, the boys have been approached by so many companies and so many possibilities of doing commercials and endorsements, says Kevin Sr. We do say no every day. The ones they've said yes to are Verizon Communications, a sponsor of the band's tour, and Burger King, which the brothers appear in ads for a single menu item, apple fries, rather than the entire menu. And they're apple fries because it was part of a health initiative.
Oh my God.
Have you ever heard of anything worse than apple fries?
I was going to say, like...
I don't either. Obviously,
are they
didn't
just
last long.
apples chopped in like a French fry shape? Like
Nick is... sorry, I spoke too soon. Nick is diabetic, says Kevin Sr. So we make healthy choices or represent healthy choices. I love that the Jonas Brothers come on the scene and they're like, hey, fats, you fats ordering your fries. Like,
well, this was that era, right, too, with like...
This was so that era.
When they had like Michelle Obama doing the like vegetables in school campaign because like childhood obesity rates were so high. Like,
Nick Jonas also appears in ads for the Contour blood glucose monitor sold by Bayer. They have a lot of like
Mama
big
the
pharma
Bayer
branding.
Sponsorship. No, that's cash money. You know, they're making it.
So Mr. Matthews, who does the ads, he says, quote, the Jonas Brothers, like any teenage and young folk, enjoy video games and enjoy Xbox 360. It's great when you can leverage experience with the brand that exists naturally. He also says that the family, quote, absolutely gets involved in all marketing partnerships and that they get creative approval of ads, which are screened by Kevin Sr. and the band's other managers. And then we run it by the boys. And yeah, I just think that that's really funny. I think this was like one of my favorite things I read about it just because it's like such a time capsule. Like Xbox Live, free episode of the Jonas Brothers TV show featuring a custom commercial opening featuring the Xbox. Can you imagine being like, Mom, like we're kids being like, Mom, I need to get Xbox Live so I can watch Jonas on my Xbox.
Your parents are like, what the fuck are you talking
Also,
about?
by the way, Jonas is a terrible name for a TV show. Jonas.
It's so confusing. The branding is not good on that.
It's not good at SEO.
I need to watch Jonas, the Jonas. You would just, they could just call it the Jonas Brothers show and it would have like been just fine.
So then we get a video game review for Jonas on the Nintendo DS.
I'm looking at pictures of this
stop there.
already.
It's terrible.
And it looks
it's so bad.
Abysmal.
Do you want to read this? Do you want to read this quick two blurbs I have? This is like the most interesting part of the review. This is by IGN in 2009, December 9th, 2009. They got this game out right before the holidays, of course.
The amount of actual gameplay in this title compared to the amount of time players run back and forth just to talk to people is very little. Even worse is it all's boiled down to very basic mini games. Most of the game is literally changing outfits. I'm sure the idea of a digital Jonas Brothers dress-up doll is appealing to a large demographic, though. But the models are kind of creepy. Their cel-shaded figures are plastered with unchanging grins. Speaking of creepy, so was a lot of other stuff in the game. The fact that teenage girls rip off Kevin's clothes and you keep playing with him in tattered scraps. Or their storyline that involves their brothers getting into footy pajamas and pretending to be toddlers to make videos for their mom. It's just supposed to be wacky and fun, but the humor falls flat and the crazy antics just turn weird.
So Nick gives an interview in MTV that same Christmas season about his fascination with the president. There's not much here. But he begins, I included here because he begins like a solo press adventure where it's like, I'm Nick Jonas and I'm part of Nick Jonas and the administration. And that's what you're tuning in here for, is to see Nick Jonas and the administration. We get this Tiger Beat one that I just really think is hilarious. And it's Nick Jonas, top 5 secrets, Tiger Beat. So I read the top 5 secrets, right? And they're like, Nick Jonas has a new band. Nick Jonas met his band in Nashville.
Please.
Nick Jonas like loves the bongo drums. And then we get number 3, which is my favorite part. Like, I love that this is the big secret in Tiger Beat. Why don't you read it?
Secret number 3, Nick's grandpa came to Nashville with him during the recording process of Who I Am. We rented a house on a ranch, Nick told MTV. So that was fun.
I love it.
Okay, this is such a definition of their press events. The amount of times they're like, we just had a good time and it was cool. And everyone's like, they're so fascinating.
Yeah. So I have a video clip that I would like to play for us right now. Matt, can you insert that YouTube link I've got there into this right here?
We were all so happy that day. It's
It's actually hard to even imagine how terrible things would soon become.
So Nick gives an interview to MTV about Kevin's wedding, and near the end of the interview, they ask him about his upcoming album with Nick Jonas and the administration. This interview takes place, it gets published December 14th, 2009. Quote, "We have 4 records released in about 3.5 years. So after that, and with this new one, let's take it back a little bit," he says of the Jonas Brothers' current musical endeavors. Quote, "As far as a new Jonas Brothers album, I think we're going to wait a little while. We want to take our time with this one." So the 4 records in 3.5 years are the 3 Jonas Brothers albums and then the live album. Matthew, can you read this next parenthesis part that I've put in here?
Their next album would drop in 2019. 10 years later. That is crazy.
We were all so happy that day.
Well, little did we know how terrible.
Little did we know. I just loved it because I was reading it and I was like, 4 records in 3.5 years is it's an insane amount of records, right? Like they really pushed as much as they could through. And then he's like, yeah, people keep asking, when's the next Jonas Brothers album? When's the next Jonas Brothers album? When's the next Jonas Brothers album? He's like, I don't know. We're going to take some time and see. And then it's like 10 years later.
That's so crazy. I really thought in my head, and this is like maybe
that's what I'm saying.
The Mandela
that's
effect. I thought they were like pumping albums out to like 2012, 2013 time or something.
Babe.
No, they
were active for 3.5 years and then they disappeared for 10 years.
And then COVID hit, so then they still take a break, and now only are they really back in some capacity.
We're unfortunately so back. So Kevin Jonas gets married later.
14 years ago that he said this.
I know. Okay, so Kevin Jonas gets married on December 19th or December 18th, excuse me. They get married at this is my favorite part. Ohika Castle, a turn of the century style French chateau on a sprawling estate in Long Island. It's so New Jersey core to marry someone on a fake French chateau style castle on Long Island.
We're going back to the roots. I also love how this photo, by the way, they're in the exact same position, same hand on stomach.
No,
but it's a completely different photograph.
Yeah.
They look exactly the same.
It's an Italian-American extravaganza.
Okay.
There's a blizzard that threatens the festivities.
I'm sorry,
but
I'm just now looking at pictures of this place. I can see why you would go here instead of flying to Europe. It is massive.
No, it's huge.
It's a massive property.
It's huge.
Holy shit,
It's huge.
This was expensive. This had to be like a minimum 100K, 150K.
Oh, I just love that it's a recreation castle in Long Island.
This is huge. It looks like it's well done, relatively speaking.
No, I mean, it's
I thought it was
huge.
going to be like that castle in Kentucky that they went to in Vanderpump Rules. I was so scared, but this is like actually nice.
She wore a Chantilly lace Vera Wang gown, and he wore a suit. So Nick Jonas then gives an interview to Billboard a week later, right before Christmas, 2009. He's talking to them about the new band, and he says, quote, "With this record, the overall template was 60s and 70s funk rock and at times soulful rock." He says that he was, again, inspired by people like Stevie Wonder, Elvis Costello, Prince. I love that Elvis Costello is like the #1 influence of the Jonas Brothers as well as Nick's solo projects.
The time.
I love that also every time we talk about Jonas, it is spelled differently. So here it's Joans rather than Jonas, like with the periods after each letter.
I forgot that's the name of the show is actually an acronym. Yeah.
So, and then they have Camp Rock 2 Final Jam coming up. They talk about, and then also the trio plans to tour, although Nick says a follow-up to this year's Lines, Vines, and Trying Times probably won't surface until 2011. Reader, it did not surface in 2011. I think after 4 albums in 3.5 years and then releasing Who I Am, we kind of said, let's take them easy. There's a lot of material out there from Camp Rock, so that'll work. And I think maybe not this year, but next we'll record another album. Then Kevin, that same day that Nick is out there promoting the hell out of the administration, is on honeymoon, and the Daily Mail puts out the most disgusting headline I've ever seen. It was so just like, really? 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 This is the headline? Matt, read this.
Kevin Jonas, with a different kind of commitment ring, enjoys a sun-kissed honeymoon after his wintry wedding.
It must have been a hell of a wedding night for Kevin Jonas. And by the way,
Stop.
he kept playing with his... They're like, wow, that little slut took off his chastity ring. And by the way, he kept playing with his wedding band. We're now betting the chastity ring that once occupied that finger is a distant memory.
They are obsessed. They're like in
obsessed.
his fuck fest. Like
They're like, they were fucking
raging.
These Italian American horn dogs went to the Bahamas and fucked all over the Bahamas and
sure
Cabo
hope
San
they
Lucas.
did. I sure hope they did.
Yeah,
honestly.
Kevin.
Good for them. I think it's
we
what a
do have
honeymoon's for, but okay.
We do have a thing about their sex life actually later on in 2010.
I don't.
But we're not going to get to that
I was just
today.
joking. I don't want to know.
So the last thing we've got is on the eve of New Year's Eve, December 30th, 2009.
New Year's Eve.
Nick Jonas and the administration gives one last interview. Jonas, this is in New Jersey.com. I just like that NewJersey.com is like a website.
I mean, hello, that's their biggest export right now.
Yeah. Jonas says the Jonas Brothers, Nick Jonas says the Jonas Brothers, who have been hugely popular among preteen girls from 2007 on, are still very much together, and that his new songs conceivably could have been recorded by them. It's not that I thought it couldn't be done by the Jonas Brothers. It was just me branching out and showing people who I am as an artist and as a musician. I think all of us have individual dreams and ambitions along with dreams as a group.
I can't imagine there wasn't conversations happening where Nick was like, I'm fed up, I'm tired,
I'm fed up. I want to go gay bait people.
And you know what? Fair. Like, as he
Fair.
should. I just think it's funny because, like, they're trying to spin it like that's not what's happening, but, like, clearly it's what's happening and what ends up being the case.
So we're going to get into 2010, 2011 next week. And there's a lot that is going to happen in that period of time. We're going to detail kind of like the precipitation of the breakup, including Demi Lovato going to rehab. There's a lot of stuff happening. But one of my favorite things that I'm really looking forward to getting to is in the finale of this series. We're not really going to spend too much time on their like comeback because I really don't care about it. But we are going to touch on kind of like the interstitial years between their breakup and like what they get up to. You know, Nick has his solo career, Joe has his solo career, and Kevin starts a real estate business.
It's the only natural pivot.
Yeah. Nick gay baits, Joe Jonas makes friends with the fat Jewish, and Kevin Jonas starts a real estate company.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it all so much. 2010 is such a blight, honestly.
Yeah, it's such a
You know
blight.
what? I'm actually happy they're together now because it's a lot better than that.
Yeah. Although that Waffle House song, I can't get out of my head. It's the worst song I've ever heard in my entire life.
The name, the concept,
Waffle House.
the whole idea.
It's literally
of it
called
all.
Waffle House.
Get a job.
Get a real job, Joe Jonas.
Whatever happened to men that actually make music?
Joe Jonas hasn't gotten enough lashings from me this episode, but just know the lashings are coming for Joe Jonas next week. Joe Jonas, you are not safe. Okay, you are not safe, Joe Jonas. I'm about to resurrect some ancient tea and beef about you. Okay, you're not gonna make it through the rest of this series, Mr. Joe Jonas.
Does he turn hashtag problematic?
Oh. I mean,
I really don't know the tea. That's why
what
I'm actually
happens
excited.
in the next episode transcends problematic. Okay.
Ooh.
What happens in the next episode leads directly into Demi Lovato singing music to brothel ghosts. Okay, there is a direct line between Joe Jonas's actions in the next episode and the brothel ghosts that Demi Lovato was singing to in an ancient cowboy saloon in a ghost town somewhere in California. Okay, 1-to-1. It is a direct line. Okay, it's a direct line.
I'm devastated.
And I'm going to take you there. But for now, let's get out of here.
Let's get
Matt,
out of here.
thank you so much for coming on this episode.
Oh
as
my God,
always.
please. This is so good. This is so fun. This is a blast. I feel like this really is eating up everything we've done before. Like,
I know.
There's something about it.
I know. I thought we couldn't top Ariana, but I think we're topping Ariana.
Who would have ever thought you could top Ariana?
I do have something. Matt, you have to get a costume before next week, by the way.
What do you mean? Are we dressing up for an episode?
We're going to dress up for the bonus episode on
Oh,
Monday.
fuck. I still need I have a Halloween party on Saturday I'm going to. I still don't have anything. I have to buy something
Matt,
quick.
Get ready, because I'm going to be dressed up, and I
know you're going to be dressed up as.
A few of you have seen my costume,
Yeah,
but
it's gonna be crazy.
an homage to an Eating for Free classic. It's an homage to the woman who changed our lives this year, is all I'm going to say. And you can see my costume on Monday's bonus episode, so get ready for that.
Patreon.com/eating for free.
Patreon.com/eating for free. We have new merch out.
I'm wearing it right now. Hello.
Yes.
It's so great.
They can't see.
No,
we
they
have
can't.
Love and
This
Light
is-
merch. We have Nick Jonas saying, I learned so many things in such a short period of time and all of it was crazy. We also have new merch inspired by Troye Sivan's new album. Every day they're telling me what I want, but I'm not listening. It's called Big Communication. We've got a lot happening on our merch store, so go there. Once again, always stay abreast of what's happening in Palestine right now. Go to your marches, call your representatives, donate when you can and how you can, and don't look away from what's happening, right? I think that the idea of something, I saw this word on Twitter today and it was the stupidest word I've ever heard. They called it like compassion fatigue or like empathy fatigue.
Cut it. Fucking cut it.
Like, how about just walk into traffic then, right? That's more useful than posting you have compassion.
None of y'all would
Twitter
last
right now.
a minute in other people's shoes. It's insane.
I'm sorry. The least you can do is like witness what is happening right now.
The least you could do is have compassion.
The least you could do is witness it. The least you could do is not turn away from what's happening right now.
Exactly.
And I just want to send, love to everyone out there who listens to this podcast, who's been with us since, we've been in this game, and has rocked with us through things like our BDS episode. Obviously there were people who somehow either were willfully blind to that episode being very prominent in our archives and there being multiple episodes about BDS, and have since, very, very publicly let us know they will no longer be engaging with our podcast, but we don't care because the rest of you are on the right side of history. I know.
Exactly.
And it is just one of the darkest times in our lives right now. And I just want to urge you all to hold each other and to keep fighting and keep waking up and keep the Palestinians in your hearts and minds and in your prayers and in your actions in everyday life, right?
Yep.
We talk about it on the bonus episode, but like BDS is a 3-letter acronym, right? It doesn't stop with boycotting. There are divestments and sanctions that you can still do. And there are material actions you can take right now that will directly benefit Palestinians. So do the research, listen, go read for yourself. We have links in the bio here. And we'll talk to you all next week. Is that everything?
Week? I think that's it.
That's everything. And then I have some show announcements that will be coming later this month for stuff in New York. So stay tuned for that. Okay. I think that's everything. 3, 2, 1. Gone to the year 3000. I don't know how anything about this song goes.
Not much has changed, but we live underwater.
Oh, God.
How do you not remember that
if the worst we have to deal with in the year 3000 is living underwater? Goodbye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Eating for Free, a podcast created, co-hosted, written, researched, and produced by myself, Joan Summers, and Matthew Lawson, with original theme music by Sam Huntington of Crooks and Nannies. If you liked what you heard today, you can go to patreon.com/eatingforfree to get access to weekly bonus episodes, as well as access to my other podcast, Beautiful Women Updates, hosted by myself and Alex V. Green. You can also go to eatingforfree.com to get access to the links to our research from today's episode, as well as merch and so much more.